The ACE phoneme discrimination test is a discrimination task to assess the frequency resolving power of the aided or unaided cochlea. A pair of phonemes is presented in an ODDITY paradigm. The default presentation level is 70 dB. The phonemes are constructed in such a way that the only difference between different phonemes is the spectral content. Both duration and loudness are equal. The background phoneme is repeated at fixed intervals of typically 850 milliseconds. Every now and then the background phoneme is replaced with the stimulus phoneme, which is also called the odd phoneme. The listener should react to the odd phoneme. He or she should not recognize the phonemes, but just notice that they are different from one another. How to use and interpret the test results. This test assesses what is presumably one of the most essential features of the cochlea, namely the frequency resolving power. This relates to the tuning curves. Tuning curves are input-output functions of regions, or hair cells in the cochlea. In the normal cochlea, tuning curves are very sharp. Plotting several tuning curves of neighboring areas in the cochlea on the same graph reveals that the cochlea is sensitive to sound of a given intensity. It also shows how different frequencies stimulate other regions in the cochlea. In the diseased cochlea, these curves become different in a way that is shown on this graph. The result is not only a loss in sensitivity, but also a loss of the sharp tuning capacity of the cochlea. Amplification may improve the audibility of the sound presented, but the system will remain poor in its frequency resolving power. This is why hearing aid wearers often say that with their hearing aids, they hear the sound much better, but they still fail to understand the content. The ACE phoneme discrimination test assesses this frequency resolving power. Therefore, it is particularly useful in the evaluation of the deficient cochlea and of cochlear therapies. Its usefulness has been proven in the selection of cochlear implant candidacy, the evaluation of cochlear implants, and the outcome-driven fitting of cochlear implants. Since it is essentially a discrimination task, this test requires little or no cognitive cooperation. It can be done in infants, toddlers, children, and adults. In infants and toddlers, special techniques may be required to elicit the responses. These are the same techniques that are used in pediatric audiometry, like conditioned orientation reflexes, visual reinforcement, play audiometry, etc. Hearing listeners should have no difficulty in discriminating all the contrasts. In case of sensorineural hearing loss, the aided cochlea may still experience great difficulty discriminating sounds that are played well above threshold. If too many contrasts can no longer be discriminated, this may add to the indication of cochlear implantation. After cochlear implantation, the discrimination should be restored to a great extent. This is usually the case immediately after switch on. If the cochlear implant wearer fails to discriminate two phonemes, the ACE provides the spectral analysis of the phonemes, and also the difference between the two phonemes. This difference can be shown as a function of the audiometric frequencies, but also as a function of the electrode numbers of the CI array. The graph displays the spectral content of each phoneme in the corresponding color. And the difference between the two phonemes in red. This analysis pinpoints the electrodes that code for the spectral cue that is not perceived by the CI wearer. This information may help the CI programmer to change the settings of the device in order to provide a better spectral resolution.